Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, sitting in for LC. He's in parts unknown this week, but we got another great edition of the Saturday Roundtable. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, helps us out, help us get to 8,000 subscribers, and of course, head to InsideTexas.com. You can use the promo code IT1 to get 2 months of Inside Texas access for just $1. I've got Eric Nalin. I've got Ian Boyd today. We'll be talking about some events on the 40 acres that are going to be extremely important to Texas fortunes in the coming years, even if it doesn't involve player workouts or coaches. And then we'll talk a little bit about how this could be one of the better secondaries Pete Kwiatkowski has ever coached. So, gentlemen, a little bit of trivia I talked to you about. I'll leave it for the viewer a little bit. 10 seconds of maybe dead time. 3 concerts I can think of in the history of DKR. One was in the 70s, and this is the time to think about it. One was in the 90s, and one was in 2022. 3, 2, 1. All right. First was ZZ Top in 1974. The other one was the Eagles concert in the 90s, and the other apparently was Boz Scaggs and the Who in 2022. An odd combo for sure, but there's going to be another one this weekend, and it's going to help Texas NIL efforts. It'll be a night for Texas, benefiting the Texas One Fund. It'll feature Ryan Bingham and the Texas Gentlemen, which I know if it piques Eric and I's fancy. It'll feature Brooks and Dunn, which will pique pretty much any country fan's fancy. And of course, it's all benefiting the Texas One Fund and helps them not just only help the football program, but the athletic department. Eric, how creative is this? I mean, we've seen some other schools use some big celebrity influence. I mean, South Carolina has Darius Rucker, and I know UNC and a few other schools have done something else. But like, how creative is this, and how much will it probably help Texas NIL or in the Texas One Fund going forward in the 2024-2025 athletic year?
First of all, I can't understand how I don't recall Boz Scaggs and the Who in 2022. That was like yesterday. What was they were trying to raise money for COVID funds or something? That is surprising to me. And Boz Scaggs has a very close tie to Inside Texas behind the scenes. His brother is a reader of Inside Texas, a longtime reader, and a good commenter when he does jump on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the most creative thing of all time. It's a smart and practical thing, play to your strengths. That's 2 different types of crowds you're going to get with, there's overlapping. Don't get me wrong. My wife likes both Ryan Bingham and Brooks and Dunn, but you're definitely going to talk to a little bit of a younger crowd with the Ryan Bingham edition. And then, of course, the Brooks and Dunn is going to appeal to anybody 40 and over. I expect it to do well. They're having a celebrity golf tournament today, and tomorrow is going to be the concert. Given the amount of price that tickets are and the amount sponsorships are, I think they're going to raise $2 or $3 million. I don't know. I need to see what the attendance is. I'm going to get an idea of the attendance, and I'll run a little math on it. But I think they can raise $2-3 million, maybe even more, depending on just the donations they get outside of sponsorships and ticket price.
Yeah, and Eric, I've heard of details of some other NIL events, obviously none as big as being hosted at DKR and featuring these great recording artists, but these are opportunities not only to, get people out there to see these great musical acts, but it's opportunities to interact with athletes, with coaches. I mean, we've heard that Steve Sarkisian, Vic Schaefer, even Rodney Terry, and some other coaches, they're active at these events. Student athletes are active at these events, and it helps not only get people in seats, but to a certain extent helps them to see and understand where some of the money that they're donating to NIL goes to and who they're specifically helping as a person.
Yeah, they'll go through great lengths to explain some of that. It's not just, if you go on social media, you might see some jewelry or something. That's not all real jewelry, and they're not buying all those cars. They're not just throwing their money away. There's a lot of very interesting, very good human interest stories about that money being put to good use, and they'll definitely, I'm sure that there's going to be some presentations over that. There typically is at these NIL things. But man, this is just a practical thing. You got this giant stadium that's almost always empty. Go use it to raise some money.
Ian, you talk a lot about one of your favorite words and phrases is marshaling resources when it comes to college football. And this does it in one extent, but if you look at the announcement, not only is this, obviously Texas donors, Texas interested parties, but C3, who I believe runs like ACL, Lollapalooza, all that, and Tito's Vodka, who is owned and operated, or at least founded by an alum. they are some of the Tito's is the title sponsor of this event. So in terms of marshaling resources, it's not often you get the top vodka distillery in the country, and then maybe the most successful conglomerate that puts together great music festivals all together in one place. And by the way, they're rowing for Texas as well.
Yeah, I mean, when NIL opened up, this is why you knew that Texas was potentially one of the biggest benefactors in the whole country. Texas, USC, potentially Michigan, all these schools that maybe were a little hesitant to play the game the way it used to be played, in terms of getting players to agree to come play for your school. Now that things are out in the open and it's much more business oriented and you can marshal resources out in the open a little more easily, obviously Texas is a big benefactor, and obviously the leadership is all aboard. Tito's, this probably doesn't surprise you guys, but that's like one of the most common labels you see up here in Michigan. Even like Texas, there's a lot of big brands associated with Texas.
It's just all over the place. I don't know where Kix Brooks went to school. Not sure exactly where Ronnie Dunn went to school. He's from Coleman, Texas, which is on the way to Lubbock. But Eric, this is the opportunity to drop one of the best pieces of Ryan Bingham trivia that you know pretty well.
Oh yeah. So if you know anything about high school football in Texas, or just Texas geography, he went to Aldine Westfield High School. And if you've ever seen Ryan Bingham and ever seen Aldine Westfield play, you would not put those two together. But his family moved around a lot. Originally from New Mexico, moved all over Texas. He actually wrote a song talking about being bullies. A song called "Wolves." It's a really good song, and I have a good feeling that was from his time at Westfield, where he stuck out like a sore thumb. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it's probably the life he's had has gone a long way towards the quality of his music.
Ronnie Dunn, I'm looking it up, went to ACU, and Kix Brooks went to Louisiana Tech. So
I'm trying to find how much that title sponsor costs. I think I can find it in this right here. It's like $250 or $500 alone. So that's just
that's a big thing, because I know there's probably been some hesitancy just generally on different sides for having vodka be a main sponsor, but now that barrier seems to have fallen as well.
I don't want to interrupt you, but while I've got this up, they've got a stage and entertainment sponsor for $500. I don't know if that one was filled. I don't see title sponsor necessarily, but I see presenting sponsor, so maybe that's it. $250. Another pregame tailgates, $250. So just between those three sponsorships, you're talking about $1 million, assuming those got filled. And then that's before you even talk about the donations, all the tickets to get in. This is going to be another one that hurts a lot of fans of other schools when it comes to recruiting.
Something very unique to the University of Texas and the Austin area. Ian, there's also something unique to the Austin area you have a little experience with that we'll let our friend LC jump in and give us a little bit of a word here when talking about Laura Baker and the elite Andy Allen team.
Hi guys, it's me, LC. We're going to get you back to all that insightful football knowledge real soon, but I just wanted to talk about me a second. If you know anything about me, you'll know that I am a living inside enthusiast. I really like sleeping inside. I like living inside. Knowing that my refrigerator is under a roof is really important to me. And if you're of a similar ilk and are looking to buy or sell a home in the Central Texas area, please reach out to Laura Baker. Now, Laura is a UT grad. She's an avid Longhorn fan and a member of IT, meaning she's family. She's also an elite member of the Andy Allen team with Keller Williams Realty. Buying or selling a house can be really challenging, and it's one of the biggest financial decisions that you're ever going to make in the entirety of your life. So you want to make that decision with someone who is at the top of their profession and can help you navigate the process seamlessly. Now, inventory is up for the first time in a long time in Central Texas, so it's a good time to buy. And because the market is fairly balanced, it's actually a good time to sell as well. So again, if you're like me or our friend Ian Boyd, who has recently worked with Laura Baker, and you love living inside, please give her a call today and see if you're a good fit together. Now back to the show.
That is someone who's got 2 degrees in theater and acting and a
Is
little bit
that,
better.
Ian, is it true? Do you like living inside?
I am very much an inside person, like LC, at least as much as LC.
Are you going to be okay without the lack of basements in Texas? We always seem to see you in a basement. Now you're in somebody else's basement. I mean, you're going to have some withdrawals from basements, right?
That's actually probably going to be kind of tough for me. Um, I love being. I liked the Michigan cold up until I had kids and I started getting sick all the time.
Right.
But we're excited about our new house up in North Austin that Laura helped us find. We had to plan it across the country. We were only able to go down for like one scouting trip, and in that one scouting trip, Laura had helped us zero it down to a few neighborhoods, a few houses. We zeroed it down well over the weekend, found the perfect place for us, got the deal done right before we were flying back up to Michigan. Great experience with Laura. Helped us, we had to plan. We have 4 kids. We had to figure out what schools to be in. We had to figure out what part of town to be in that was the right, price range, the right sort of homes, the right sort of neighborhoods. Y'all got to give Laura a call if you're looking to buy in the Austin area. And maybe you should be, because this area is going to explode. I'm thinking I'm going to make some real money on this house in like 10, 20 years down the line if I ever come to sell it.
Ian, I'm going to pop it right back to you. Hard transition. You wrote an article the other day on Inside Texas about could this be Pete Kwiatkowski's best secondary? And that not only includes some insight about Pete Kwiatkowski himself, but also about Terry Joseph, who's a secondary coach for the Longhorn. His focus is on the cornerbacks. And you take some historical context and some looking back at both Washington under Pete Kwiatkowski and Jimmy Lake, and also Notre Dame defenses, secondaries under Terry Joseph, and try to figure out maybe what the strategy is going to be and how the Longhorns might look in the secondary when trying to answer that question. So maybe not so much could this be, but why will this be Pete Kwiatkowski's best secondary?
I do think it for sure will be his best secondary yet at Texas. The talent level, I think previously the best one would have been 2022, I think, just because of the injuries and some of the issues they had in 2023. But the 2022 secondary, the chapter's not closed, but it was not as stacked with NFL talent as, say, Pete Kwiatkowski's best secondaries at Washington, Terry Joseph's best ones at Notre Dame, or this next year at Texas. So you figure Malik Muhammad is looking like he's going to be an NFL guy, right? Jahdae Barron will be drafted somewhere. Probably could have been drafted this last year. One of Derek Williams and Andrew Makuba, I think there's a good chance that they will be an NFL player before long. So there's just a whole lot more talent than, say, in like 2022, where they had a lot of like fringe late round undrafted free agent guys that were really pretty solid and pretty athletic, but not quite at the NFL level. I think the talent alone is going to help them figure out the best way to use the secondary. And I think it will propel this to be the best we've seen yet at Texas under Pete Kwiatkowski. And then the devil's in the details. How good they are during the season. Not just are they the best, but by what extent are they the best? That could be, the difference between making the playoffs, winning the playoffs, narrowly missing the playoffs, etc. It's a really big factor for this coming season.
One of the things that, Eric, you harped on is versatility. And I'm looking at the 2022 secondary, and it had Deshaun Jameson, who was basically just a corner. Jahdae Barron, who maybe at that point in his career wasn't as multi-versatile or multifaceted as he is now. Anthony Cook, who by that point, safety. Jaron Thompson, safety. Ryan Watts, boundary corner. And while there are some guys on this year's team who might not be moving all over the place, they have more guys who can play a lot more roles that could help lead to what Ian talked about, this being a very versatile and excellent secondary.
Yeah, versatility is kind of a proxy for athleticism. And so this is just a lot more athletic group. And I also think I've written about the once they added Javion Cole, I said, man, there's a very high IQ group as well. I'm not worried about it all that much. I'm worried more about schemes and like the individual players making mistakes, because they're gonna have to figure out how to stop the run, and sometimes that's going to remove a DB from coverage. But if you look at the most common players that were exploited last year on the field, all three of them are gone. I don't, no need to name names, but all three guys that got, picked on the most last season are either playing for different teams or, all three of them are playing for different teams. So I think that by nature, adding, increasing the athleticism and the football IQ, I think they can't help but be a pretty good unit. I'm not super concerned about that. My concern is going to be marrying all three levels. And some of that has to do with what we're talking about, but it's a little bit different.
Ian, with this one of the groups that you highlighted in your article was the 2018 Washington Huskies, and it had smaller Byron Murphy, Miles Bryant, Taylor Rapp, JoJo McIntosh, and Jordan Miller. And one of the things that you mentioned was that this secondary often just said, all right, boundary guy, you're on your own. We'll take care of everything else, and we'll go 10 on 10. Is Malik Muhammad somebody who can give that secondary that can do that and give the secondary the ability to maybe play 10 on 10 elsewhere and trust him alone on some of the SEC's top receivers?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's kind of one of the big defining points this coming season is like the extent to which he's able to just glue himself to top receivers. And also, Malik Muhammad really breaks on the ball well. And sometimes what will scare a team off from throwing at a guy isn't even so much like if he's really tight to the receiver, but are we afraid about a pick six here? Are we afraid of a turnover? And he's got just tremendous ball skills and sees things so well. So that's like that's maybe one of the most important factors for like what makes Texas elite top 10 defense next season would be, hey, if Malik Muhammad makes a leap like we think he could and has just a breakout year, that's going to go a long way. And everything else gets a lot easier from there.
Byron Murphy is a good comp for Malik, actually.
Yeah.
Malik's not going to go out there and run a 4.3. It's not like some of these freaks that you see going, top 10 or top 15. That's why I keep saying I think he might end up being a second round pick, even though he's every bit as good of a college football player as a first rounder. It's just because I think, he might not have the ideal length. He's not, and it's not like he lacks it. And he might not be, just the absolute freak of nature. But he's a very, very heady football player, natural football player. We always talk about his football IQ and how hard he works, his football character. He's going to be a lockdown corner this year.
You know who he not to pour salt on the wound, but him and Javion Cole actually both remind me a little bit of Jabbar Muhammad, the guy who got away to Oregon, where they have Malik Muhammad's got better length than any of them. So Malik Muhammad may actually have a higher upside, but they're all really.
Jabbar got away to Washington before he got away to Oregon. That was a year. There was 2 years that they could. I think that don't get me started on Jabbar. Jabbar was a baller, man. They had to go against him. They had all the tape in the world. They needed him at Oklahoma State. That one hurts. But hey, Javion Cole's a good player. This secondary should be good. I'm not worried about it outside of how they interact with the other two levels.
Should be fun to track over the course of the off season. Of course, during the off season, we're going to be tracking all this at InsideTexas.com. Head to Inside Texas. Use the promo code IT1. That'll get you 2 months of Inside Texas access for just $1. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us out, help us get to 8,000. Ian, I do have one last question for you. You're not going to need a snow shovel up in Michigan anymore, thanks to your new location with Laura Baker. Who do you think is the snow shovel of this year's Texas secondary?
Michael Taft.